and tell you that I have never liked being called a survivor. It is not a word or a term that works for me. This is somewhat inconvenient since I am a survivor is the theme of the whole evening. Now, it's not that I don't qualify as a survivor. I do. It was 1996, I was 23 years old, and I had finally gotten my 10-month-old daughter to sleep for the night when I sat down and opened a letter that I received from her father, who was overseas on a work assignment, an assignment he received the day I found out I was pregnant. I had hoped the letter would tell me that he was returning and we would become a family. Instead, his letter told me that there was another woman, and she was pregnant. And just like that, I became one of the 9 million single mothers in this country, 44% of whom have never been married. About 1 in 4 girls has been sexually abused before their 18th birthday. 60% of perpetrators are non-relative acquaintances. I am one of these girls. Nearly 1 in 5 women have reported experiencing rape, and 1 in 20 women have experienced sexual violence of some sort, coercion or unwanted sexual contact. I am one of these women. Autoimmune disease affects more than 23.5 million Americans and is a leading cause of death and disability. I am one of these Americans. Now, for someone who doesn't like to be called a survivor, that is a solid list of things to have survived. The dictionary defines survivor as someone remaining alive after an event in which others have died. Others died, I'm alive, I survived, these are the facts. And then there's how I feel about these facts, or how you might feel about these facts. If there's one thing those statistics tell me, it's that trauma is a shared experience. We may not talk about it, and we will have all had a different experience with trauma, but there are very few of us who remain completely untouched. So with the word survivor not working for me, I looked to find a word that does. A word that has more personal meaning and that more accurately describes my journey. And the word that emerges for me is aliveness. While survivor is factual, it feels static and stationary. Aliveness denotes movement, animation, fullness. Survivor is a fact over which I have no control. Aliveness is a state of being that I can choose. After recovering from 2 years of debilitating illness that struck at the height of my career, I had gotten clear about one thing. The way that I was doing life was no longer working for me. I was done working really hard to be someone I really wasn't. I was done saying yes to everyone else's needs and no to my own. I was done simply existing. I wanted more. I longed for aliveness. So I transitioned out of the family business, which was abroad at this point, and I remained abroad for 1.5 years, working hard and living as frugally as possible so that I could save as much money as I could, so that I could move forward with my plan and dream of starting my own publishing business. That was my plan for aliveness. In July 2012, my teenage daughter and I flew into San Diego with everything that we owned packed into 6 suitcases, plus a box of books and my guitar. I had exactly $15,000 to my name. I hit the ground running. There was no time to lose. I bought an older car, an iPhone, and I put the deposit and first month's rent down on 2 rooms that I rented out of someone else's home. It hadn't been a week, and already I had blown through nearly half of all my money. I'll never forget the day I walked out of Target, pushing a shopping cart full of things that we needed to get set up. We're talking toothpaste, toilet paper, shampoo, pillows, towels, sheets. We needed everything. So I'm still reeling from sticker shock at the total of this bill as I push my cart out into the parking lot, and that's when I realize I have absolutely no idea where I parked my car. I knew it was a Mitsubishi, and it was silver, but I hadn't had it long enough to remember anything else about what it looked like. It's 90 degrees outside. I'm hot, I'm hungry, I'm tired. My daughter was in bed that day recovering from a migraine I was worried I was going to get as I pushed my heavy cart up and down the rows of this massive parking lot in a sea of silver cars. It seemed like everyone in San Diego owned a silver car. 20 minutes later, I still haven't found my car. And that's when the "I've got this all under control" facade starts to crumble, and I have a meltdown. We are talking a full-on come apart. With a pounding head, tears streaming down my face, and sweat oozing out of every pore of my body, I pick up the phone and call my sister in a panic. What happens if I can't find my car? What if I run out of money before I even get started? What if this whole starting my own business thing was the worst idea I have ever had in my life? I have no backup plan. What if I can't pull it off? Now, a meltdown in a Target parking lot was not at all what I had in mind back when I was longing for aliveness. No. But here's the thing about aliveness. It encompasses the entire spectrum of the human experience, including the emotions and the experiences we don't like and that are uncomfortable. Aliveness requires our courage. Courage is what gets us through the scary, shitty parts. Courage is what allows us to scrape ourselves up off the ground, dust ourselves off, and keep going. I did find my car that day. And somehow, between persistence and divine grace, I also found my way through that first year. See, the experience of starting my own business created the opportunity and the space for me to work through a lot of unprocessed trauma. Now, I definitely did not start with that in mind, but that's what happened. See, we all respond to trauma differently, whether physically, emotionally, behaviorally. We do what we need to do in order to cope and to function as best we can. I had developed ways of being that worked for me, that kept me functioning, that kept me safe, and that also kept me small. And then I go and decide to start my own business, and to succeed requires me to put myself out in the world in a new way, in a completely different way, in ways that quite frankly terrified me. And then all my shit came up. And I'm presented with the unique opportunity to change. Yay! See, my plan for aliveness was to do something different. And it turns out that I had the opportunity to learn to be different. For example, when I was still very new in business, I trusted the wrong man. We met at a business event, and we connected. He was charming and confident, and I was flattered by the attention. See, I started out in business with a solid skill set around publishing, but absolutely no experience when it came to sales, marketing, starting, or running a business. I was in over my head. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was struggling through a steep learning curve. This man had been in business for many years, and he wanted to help me get my business off the ground. As if in answer to prayer, a relationship emerges that holds the promise of partnership. It meant that I wouldn't be alone, and that meant everything to me. So I welcomed him into my life, and I fell for him. When he asked me to invest in him, I did, ignoring the sensation in my gut that told me something was wrong. I was shocked and devastated when he abruptly cut me out of his life, leaving me with a lot of debt and feeling very betrayed. It's hard for me to tell you this story because it still feels a little raw, and it also doesn't make me look very good. But I'm telling you because What I learned from this experience really shifted everything for me. For months, I was furious with myself. How could I have done something so stupid? What was I thinking? How could I have ignored the red flags? And there were red flags. The truth is, it was easier for me to be angry than it was for me to be with a painful emotion like grief or helplessness. But as I moved through the anger and finally allowed myself to feel the pain, something extraordinary happened. I was able to recognize the little girl inside of me, the little girl who had been abandoned by her father and who was desperate for a knight in shining armor to come sweep her off her feet and save the day. That little girl was crying out for love and attention and support, and her voice drowned out the voice of caution. Healing began when I was able to turn toward that little girl with love and compassion instead of anger and animosity. I learned that I could give her what she needed. I could give her all the support that she needed. It didn't have to come from anywhere or anyone else. I could become my own champion. And that is how I started to show up for myself. And that champion, that compassionate, courageous champion, is who shows up every day to partner with my clients as I take them through their publishing experience. My journey into aliveness has been a thrilling roller coaster ride. The truth is, I have never been this terrified. And I have never been this happy. I have my up days and my down days. Some days I feel about as strong as a crumpled up tissue. And other days I feel like Wonder Woman, ready to take on the world. You know, we all want life to be simple and formulaic, 1, 2, 3, ABC. We want the bullet-pointed list for success. And there are plenty of people out there willing to sell it to you. But the truth is that life isn't that way, and neither is business. Life is messy and ugly and complicated, and it is amazing and joyful and beautiful, and it is all of these things together because it is life. It is our one wild and beautiful life, and we get to choose how we live it. So fast forward 4 years. I sit down at my desk with a cup of fragrant tea, and I look out of the window of my own apartment. A beautiful green golf course view greets me every morning. I look over at the bookshelf, full of completed book projects, beautiful books that I am very proud of. I look down at my desk at the list of 12 or so projects that I have in the works, most of which are going quite smoothly, and I think about the amazing authors that it is my honor to support. I pick up a card from a friend and hear her remind me that I'm not alone, and I think about the support I have in my life, friends, family, colleagues. There's money in my bank account. There's a man, the right man, in my bed. And there is a newer, nicer car in the garage. And yes, it is silver. I smile as I tell myself, Bethany, look how far you've come. You're doing it. You're pulling it off. Your plan for aliveness is somehow working out. There are 9.4 million women-owned businesses in this country, and I am proud to count myself among them. I am that woman.